always find it a little amusing that the first thing we ask rabbinical students to do when they become interns is to lead high holidays. Like, we don't start with like a regular Shabbat or Pesach. We start with high holidays. But why not? We just
got to walk fully into the sea.
Into it. So we are so excited to welcome a rabbinic intern for this year from Hebrew College, Leah Carnow, who is in her Hashanah in her 5th year of rabbinical school. But Leah and Yoni have been members of TBZ for like 4 years now. I had the honor to officiate their wedding. And it's beautiful that we go from being part of the community to now serving the community. And Leah will share with us words of Torah, Dvar Torah.
Thank you. Yesterday, on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, we read the story of the birth of Isaac and how Abraham and Sarah send Hagar and Ishmael away from their home. Today, we read the Akedah, the story of how God instructs Abraham to take his son Isaac and sacrifice him upon a mountain. I know that I am not alone in finding these stories challenging. In each of these stories, Abraham is divinely instructed to cast his child towards danger or death. In each, Abraham follows the instruction with no protest. In each, divine intervention saves the child. But it is hard to accept Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his own children. Many commentators have noted the Akedah's opening phrase, God tested Abraham. They see Abraham's immediate following of God's command as the final and best example of passing a series of 10 tests. Abraham is so faithful, so zealous, that he doesn't even question God or push back. Why doesn't Abraham argue with God like he does when advocating for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah? For generations, this story has been presented to us as a demonstration of blind faith. But can it be more than that? I think yes. In Parashat Lech Lecha, before our reading today, God has promised Abraham, Sarah, your wife, shall bear you a son, and you shall name him Isaac, and I will maintain my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his offspring to come. As for Ishmael, I bless him, and I will make him fertile and exceedingly numerous. He shall be the father of 12 chieftains, and I will make of him a great nation. At the time that each of these stories that we read on Rosh Hashanah takes place, neither Ishmael nor Isaac has children. So when Abraham is instructed to send his son Ishmael away with Hagar, and then shortly after is instructed to bring Isaac up on a mountain, he must have these blessings in mind. Abraham must believe that God will keep his children safe so that they can manifest God's promise. Abraham's following of God's command is then not so much blind faith as it is an expression of hope that God will keep their covenant. And there's another detail in the Akedah which suggests hope, a moment which echoes Hagar's at the end of yesterday's reading. As Hagar sits watching from a distance, waiting for her son Ishmael to die from thirst in the wilderness, the Torah tells us, Vayifkach Elohim et eineha. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went and filled the skin with water, and she let the boy drink. When Hagar looks up, she sees a well. Maybe the well was even there all along. Similarly, at the end of the Akedah, after the angel calls out to Abraham, the Torah says, Vayisa Avraham et einav, vayar, vehine ayil achar, ne'echaz, v'svach bekarnav. Abraham lifted his eyes and he saw. There, a ram, caught in the thicket by its horns. If Abraham has been cautiously hopeful throughout this ordeal, then this is the moment where, even if part of him was expecting the worst, everything changes. Both Abraham and Hagar experience this kind of a moment. They open their eyes and they see, not just physically, but they experience the kind of seeing that opens them up to possibility. They experience seeing a different ending than they might have expected. A midrash teaches, in the name of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, that when the angel calls Avraham, Avraham, at the end of the story, the first call is to speak to Abraham, and the second call is to speak to future generations. That's us. Because, as Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, there is no generation which does not contain people like Abraham. I believe that we are all like Abraham. When the Torah teaches that God tested Abraham, that's true. But also every time we encounter this story, for each of us, all of us descendants of Abraham, the story tests us. Like the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, the angel in the story calls out to each of us personally, calling us to find our own capacity for hope, to hope for the well in the wilderness or the ram on the mountain, even if we're not sure if or when it will come. Because ultimately, this is a story that we personally live out every single day. Life is full of uncertainty, and the Akedah teaches us to look up, even in the most difficult moments, because there may be a different outcome than we expected. The story teaches us to say, Hineni, here I am, to be present to each other and to God, even when God or the world or those we love seem to be testing us. The story invites us, challenges us, begs us even to be open to the possibility of change. As we listen to the story today, I invite us to do so holding on to the message of one of the messages of this holiday. On Rosh Hashanah, we declare, Hayom Harat Olam, today the world was conceived. In other words, today is pregnant with possibilities. Today we can hope for a world that is new and renewed. Shana Tova.